So because of the terrible weather we've been having, I haven't had much time to actually do any riding. So because of my boredom, I'm going to go ahead and remove my rear wheel and mess with my suspension. I decided I'd go ahead and make a video on how to remove the rear wheel for anybody who doesn't know that. It's super simple. You only need a couple tools, and I'm going to throw a trick or two in as well. So hope you guys enjoy. So literally all the tools I'm going to need are right here. This is just a 1/2-inch ratchet with, you can use a breaker bar, doesn't matter, or 3/8, whatever you got handy, with a 32mm socket. The 32mm socket is for my axle specifically. That doesn't mean that your axle is going to be a 32mm, or your axle nut, I should say, is going to be a 32mm. So you might want to check your manual, check forums, check Google. Google knows everything, to see what your axle nut size is. Alright, I've got these Woodcraft axle sliders on, so to remove them it's just a pin, like that. And all I need to do is crack this loose. Try to remember how your hardware comes off, because you don't want to mix things up or forget to put a washer in where it's supposed to go in. So try to lay it down wherever you put it the same way you took it off. Okay, so the next part's pretty simple. All you have to do is tap the side of the axle with the nut out to the other side. So you just give it a good whack. If it doesn't come off that easy, you can use something like a rubber mallet or some wood, I don't know. Just something that isn't gonna mushroom out your axle. You don't wanna do that. Alright, so this is my trick for removing the rear wheel and not having something like the pit bull tire wedge. You just kind of slide the, well, I'm using a Dremel box, but I just slide the Dremel box underneath, give it a good tap in there, and that'll actually hold the, wheel in place, and you won't have to hold it up with your hand or your foot and basically do a juggling act. Okay, so now we're on the other side of the bike, and literally all we have to do is pull out the axle. So, ta-da, that's it. There should be grease on the axle. Mine is fairly new because I just did this recently, but you don't want to lay it down to where it can pick up dirt from the ground, so you kind of want to keep it somewhere, you know, either on the base of it or the top of it, somewhere it doesn't get filthy. Alright, with the axle out, all that's left is taking off the chain. I use a rag for this because chain always gets my hands super dirty, but you just want to give it a little push forward. Remember, you got brakes on the other side still attached, so just want to give it a little push forward, nothing too extreme, and just lift the chain off. And then you can go ahead and roll the tire back. When you roll the tire back, it'll come out of the brakes by itself. If it doesn't, you can give it some encouragement. I wanted to show this to you guys. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but if I pull it straight out, it ends up hitting the caliper. So I basically can't do that. So what I have to do on my particular bike, well, I don't want to lose this. Make sure you don't lose these guys, these spacers. They're pretty important. You don't want to mix up sides either. But yeah, once alright, so chain's out of the way, and now I'm just gonna lift the tire up, the box out, go ahead and drop it, and it comes off the caliper on its own. Also, make sure you don't hit the rear brake pedal, because this will end up closing while the tire is off. So you want to make sure you don't press the rear brake pedal while the tire is off. And there you go, that's how to remove a rear wheel. Okay, so it's the next day. I finished doing the suspension work that I was doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is take off all the old grease that's laying around everywhere. Okay, I also wipe off all the old grease from the axle. Okay, so after it's all clean, you're going to want to put some more grease on it. I use this Mobile 1 grease. It's a pink grease. Anything for wheel bearings will be good enough for your application. You want to put a good enough amount on, but you don't want to put an excessive amount on. And whatever side you're gonna slide in is the side you want to put more on. You don't really need to put over here because when you put it in, it's just gonna slide back onto the rest of the axle. Okay, next you're just gonna slide your wheel in. You want to make sure you get the brake side in first, then you can push it forward and put the chain on. Alright, next you have to put your chain on. Make sure that you still have these spacers still in there on both sides. This is what they look like. They do pop out. And you don't want to get dirt on it like I just did. Alright, now that the wheel spacer has been cleaned and re-greased, I'm going to go ahead and put the box back under the tire so it helps lift it back up, while trying to keep the brake caliper on the brake disc. Make sure you bring the chain past the sprocket bolts because that's kind of hard to do after you've gotten it lifted. Alright. Then it should be pretty simple to get the chain on. Just as easy as that. Alright, back on the brake side. Now we have to worry about lining up the brake calipers hole, the wheel hole, and the swing arm hole so that we can get the axle through. Okay, after fidgeting with it for a second, I got the caliper lined up and just go ahead and slide through. Okay, as you just heard, it's contacting on the other side already. It's just not coming through. Back on the chain side. It's that easy. Don't forget your axle blocks. These are what make sure you're chained at the right tension. Remove the box. Put on your hardware the same way it came off. In my case, it's a washer and then a nut. Then take a small wrench like this, and what you're going to want to do is cram it into the chain so that it pulls the wheel forward and you don't have to worry about the wheel being cocked or anything. This is assuming, of course, that your wheel wasn't cocked to begin with. Holding that tension on there, you're going to want to give it a good snugging. Alright, make sure you get your wrench back out of there. You don't want to try to ride it with the wrench in there. Wrench out. Give it a spin, make sure it's acting freely. And then make sure that your brakes are working. In my case, I have to put these caps back on. If you don't have a slider, girlfriend here. If you don't have a slider on your axle, you don't have anything to worry about at this point. You would be done. But now I'm done. And that's all, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of this 100-degree garage. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.